And welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Time for Opinion Court. Please do get in touch with us online. Our hashtag is Opinion Court. I'll reintroduce my panel as well as just fill you in on our topic of discussion this evening, which of course is now the controversial Northern Collector Water Tunnel, which ODM leader Raila Odinga claims will disenfranchise communities that are living upstream from the concerned three rivers within 5 years. He claims that this 6.8 billion shilling water tunnel would have a devastating impact, drying up the environment in Ukambani, Murang'a, Garissa, Tana River and North Mavioya. Joining us now to discuss this and of course its environmental and political impact is Edward Kisiangani, who is our resident political analyst. Right next to me on my right is Engineer Joseph Kamau, the head of planning and engineering at Athi Water. And to my left is Kiharu MP Irungu Hangata. Gentlemen, you're all welcome to the program. Prof, I want to start with you. The difficulty with topics like this is that while they really should be judged on the merit of whether or not they should proceed, politics gets in the way and it all becomes confusing. What do you think is the scenario right now? Is this as much a political question for the people of Central Kenya in particular as it is an environmental concern for the larger region?
I think the questions, thank you, Anne. I think the questions being raised require answers. But the juice about it is that the political timing of it. We hear that from the sources, we know that the project started way back in March. So the noise that comes right now around October must probably have a political timing. Secondly, and which is critical, is the people who are talking about this, both sides of the divide, whether you're talking about the Jubilee group or the CORD group, have abdicated their responsibility. There is no need for anybody to be so defensive like Jubilee is doing over an issue. They just need to answer questions and it ends there. But also, there is no need for the CORD brigade to make it a highly charged political issue to the extent that people think their timing is meant to achieve a political goal rather than save the country. So in this case, therefore, both of them are dismissed. In fact, they are yellow-carded. They shouldn't even repeat this again. So the political part of it remains. But you must also weigh another issue, that how much has been said, especially from the CORD group, to save the environment. Would they rather have the water come to feed Nairobians, or they would like water the same water to end up in the Indian Ocean? A lot of water, by the way, which goes through the Tana River is lost through the Indian Ocean. They would rather have that. In Western Kenya, we have so many rivers, Nyando, Nzoia, and so on, Yala, which go into the Lake Victoria. 3/4 of that water is used by Egypt. Would they rather have that kind of thing, or that water goes somewhere in Timborough and serves the nation? So you see,
yet are you saying that they do not have merit in saying that this could dry up the regions I mentioned?
I have problems with the timing. For example, when the construction started in March, it cannot be said that the construction of a building or a tunnel of such a magnitude could have been done in secrecy. Somebody saw it. So is it in October that they are seeing that? The issues they are raising, that's one part that Raila Odinga needs to answer us. But the other part that Jubilee needs to answer us is that some of the environmental questions that are being asked, for example, at one time, Jamle Kamau, a very senior member of the political class in that area, asked that, you know, how much of this project will benefit the people of Murang'a? We supply 70% of the water to Nairobi, and yet our people have nothing to show for it. They say, the government says that those issues have already been dealt with, Anne. Now the question is, how was Jamblek Kamau's question answered? Because if he says the matter has been sorted, that is a genuine question that we need to look at. We are interested in the issues that were raised and the answers that were given. That's all we need as Kenyans. But when people start out doing each other, some looking extremely, in fact, desperately defensive, and then others desperately offensive, then we don't end anywhere in this debate.
Just very briefly before I open it up to the other panelists, do you see this issue, while it is an environmental one, having the potential to substantially affect the politics of Central Kenya, and in particular the president's standing?
I don't think so, because if you look at the Central Kenya politics, including the voting patterns, not just Central Kenya, across across the country. Our politics is not about issues. So even if it's going to be that probably this government has made a mistake about the project, the Central Kenya people will
wouldn't matter.
They wouldn't matter. It will still, they will still vote for President Uhuru Kenyatta.
All right, let me bring
and if it was in Nyanza, it would be the same.
Okay, fair enough. Irungu, yes. What are your concerns about the project? We saw you in a report a little earlier, literally running away when reporters asked you whether you support it or not. So you have some general concerns. You don't want to speak of supporting it. What are the concerns?
3 issues. Number one, I would want each and every homestead in Murang'a County to get clean and piped water. Presently, we have about 60% of people in Murang'a who don't have clean and piped water. Notwithstanding the fact we supply almost 80% of water supplies to Nairobi. We had one dam, which is called the Kaini Dam. It supplies much of Nairobians' water. We don't benefit even a shilling from that dam. So to me, that is wrong. And indeed, this project must show what we as people of Murang'a, what are we gaining. That's number one. Number two, there is what we call abstraction fee. It should be shared between Murang'a County government and Nairobi government, the central government. And personally, I did make a proposal to amend the water bill, but that proposal was not forwarded to the plenary for discussion. I have a copy of that document here showing that indeed this issue was raised last year in May 2015. I have even a copy of the order paper of July 2015.
Perhaps let me rephrase the question to you, because it's one thing to insist that the region should gain from it monetarily, perhaps. It's another thing to say that households will not get water within 5 years because of the project. Those are two separate issues. Which concerns you, that there is no perhaps levy that is put on this water, the surplus water coming to Nairobi, or is it the fact that you actually believe the Prime Minister's statement that in 5 years these areas will not have water?
Two issues. One, that we do not have adequate community social responsibility programs which have been given to Murang'a people to benefit out of giving out Nairobians water. That's number one. Number two, we would want some fee given to Murang'a County, what we call abstraction fee. Currently...
Okay, fair enough. But you believe that there will still be water in 5 years and that this isn't, quote-unquote, draining the heart of the Abedares?
To me, that issue should be answered by an engineer. I say that because we do have conflicting advice on that issue. On one hand, there are some experts saying that there will be a problem. On the other hand, we have some experts saying no, there will be no problem. To me, that issue should be resolved by an engineer. But the point that we want to state clearly as Murang'a people is that this issue was not first raised by Raila Odinga. To us, in fact, we deem Raila Odinga as one of the key people creating problems in Murang'a County. Why? When this plan was originally conceived, the idea was to create a dam, that is Adakaine number 2. And Raila Odinga is the one who launched that program in the presence of the then Minister of Water, that is Charity Ngilu. We opposed that idea. That is why the current government came up with the idea of a tunnel. Then issues were again raised by some of people of Murang'a. Those are the issues that we have been raising consistently, and I have evidence to show that indeed it is not Raila Odinga who has first raised this issue. Raila Odinga is basically playing politics with a view of winning people of Murang'a, and will not be able to achieve that. However, we still insist all people of Murang'a should get water.
CS Eugene Wamalo was here on Tuesday, and he told my colleague that these issues have been resolved by the leadership after he did a tour of Murang'a County, that it was agreed on what the benefits to the general region would be, and that it was okay with leaders. You're saying that is not the case?
Part of the issues have been addressed. That indeed, I'm aware there are some projects which are currently ongoing that are meant to satisfy demands of Murang'a people, but some are yet to kick off. For instance, in Keharo, we have about 3 wards or 4 which are water stressed. That is Gaturi ward, we have Mogeri ward, we have Wangu ward. Those areas, as we speak, it's only one project which is about to be completed. The Gaturi ward is yet to commence. So to me, I still have an issue on that score. Number 2, we also have issues of infrastructure. You'd imagine where that tunnel is being built, that is in Makomboki, and also part of Kiharu, Upper Gatara, that is in Mogoi ward, we do not have tarmac roads. You'd imagine people will be going to repair those areas. They'll be going to repair various areas concerning to this project. We need to establish tarmac roads. The president, the deputy president. So the point is, it is true. There is an effort on the part of the government to address some of the issues, but some issues are still unaddressed, and to us, we would want those issues addressed. That's a fact.
Okay. Engineer, let me come to you now. Briefly walk us through, first of all, the role of API Water in this, and then the timelines of the project, which some claim flouted various environmental regulations. So let's start right from when the project was conceived in '98. What were the other steps taken, and when exactly was it done?
Thank you, Anne. In 1998, an engineering consultancy firm called Howard Humphreys was commissioned to study the options of supplying Nairobi with water. And among the identified options was the Northern Collector Tunnel, the way it is as now. And it was expected that by 2010 it would have been implemented to meet the city's water demand. From then on up to around 2006, there was no funding to implement whatever had been designed. By 2009, the water crisis in the city was becoming major. There were programs ongoing for rehabilitation and reinstating the existing infrastructure. And 2009 is when it was decided that Nairobi and the Central towns need a water development master plan to guide resources development for the next up to in line with Vision 2030.
When was World Bank funding secured?
World Bank funding was secured in 2013.
And an environmental impact assessment, perhaps independently of World Bank or in conjunction with government, was done in order to show that this is a feasible project?
Yes. The environmental impact assessment has been undertaken extensively. All the figures you are hearing are from that report. When you see fish, it's the environmentalists trying to evaluate what are the ecological effects if this happens.
Are you saying that in 2013, at the point when the World Bank gave funding, there had already been another environmental impact assessment carried out?
No.
And who by?
I think what happens is now the master plan. We are at the preparation of a master plan. Master plan is prepared, and that it is completed in 2012. We go towards now the implementation of a master plan. And the first phase, now we go to 2013, is identified. The master plan has identified that the phases to be undertaken is the Northern Collector Tunnel, now is towards implementation. And in 2013, financing is secured through the World Bank, and we commissioned the detailed study on how the tunnel design characteristics will be so that we move on. And that is the time we are undertaking detailed environmental and social impact assessment.
I ask you this question because the proponents for this particular project have said that basically the World Bank would input its money behind a project that had not met requisite standards in terms of environmental governance. You're saying that that money was secured notwithstanding. The
funding to implement the project, you require the budgetary and funding envelope, so that once funds are secure, you can now start planning for the implementation of the project.
When did construction begin?
Construction started in March 2015.
And yet, okay, that is a different piece of information, I believe, from what we've heard previously. So in 2015, after an environmental impact assessment was granted in 2014, is when you would say the first truck moved into this area?
You know, environmental license by NEMA was issued in February 2015. Contractually, you cannot mobilize a contractor without the environmental license. And the instruments of mobilizing the contractor is a commencement order,
And yet a tender was awarded in 2014 and some money paid out for the start of work.
You see, the contracting process is about preparation for execution of the work. Procurement of the contractor is towards executing of the work. Environmental license is to ensure compliance of what is to be done, mitigate any environmental impact. Here we are preparing to undertake the work and also ensure that all environmental adverse effects are mitigated. And so the issue is you get to prepare for the implementation. You are to procure a contractor, and similarly, by the time the design is done and environmental impacts are undertaken, you have identified the various environmental effects that would, and that is the report that is evaluated by NEMA, is subjected to public participation, and when we get the license, that is when we mobilize the contractor.
Prof, are these answers satisfactory to you in terms of the timelines? Because what the opposition claim is that this has been a project that has been fast-tracked specifically to benefit a mega housing project that purportedly President Uhuru Kenyatta is behind.
Maybe before Professor comments, I've just watched the news right now, and I've seen that the project is said that is trying to divert water for a housing estate in somewhere. I want to confirm that the project is supposed to deliver 140,000 cubic meters per day to Nairobi at Gigiri reservoirs. For
out of a total of how much water?
That is the total water we are getting from the tunnel, treating at Kegoro, conveying through pipelines to Gigiri. There is no diversion anywhere. Water comes straight to Nairobi.
And from this reservoir will only be tapped within Nairobi, you're saying?
Yes, there are programs to distribute water from the same source to Embakasi region and to Nairobi Southwards. The master plan, the way it is, and I've seen it's Nairobi and satellite towns. Satellite towns are Kikuyu, Kiambu, Ruiru, Thika, because it is,
which is one of the given location of the supported housing project.
It is identifying that if you are to secure Nairobi city with water, you would need also to secure the satellite towns. And the satellite towns, all of them, if you go to Kiambu, is to be supplied by independent sources and the Ruiru Dam. They are already in the process. Ruiru and Juja, their source is expected to be Karimenu Dam, is not funded. Presently, Ruiru town is served by an independent supply located at Ruiru town.
So to simplify it, this Ruiru location would get some water out of this particular project?
No, it cannot. It is not envisaged.
So you've just said that in order to, if you were to supply Nairobi, then you'd have to supply its environs as well, correct?
The satellite towns, the master plan has identified various sources to serve the other satellite towns. Yes, Kiambu, presently, we are doing infrastructure to supply the city, the town of Kiambu with 8,000 cubic meters. The same Ruiru Dam is under planning. Karimenu Dam, which is in Gatundu, is under, we are planning.
Okay. So not now. So not under this program.
It's not under this program.
But now, anyway, I have a lot of question marks to put on what you are saying, because the explanation is not coherent.
Yeah.
But there are certain questions that I'm not getting clear. But
perhaps you should just pose them.
You see, like the last one you asked, at one time it is implied that Ruiru would get some water through the same process, but another time they are not going to benefit from this water.
Professor
because he talks about the environs. But I think in his explanation, what emerges, let us start with what you said, the housing scheme which is purportedly going to be built. In fact, if it belongs to the president, that is a big plus to him if he's putting up a housing scheme, and it's not he cannot stay in all the houses there. So Kenyans will stay there and work for us. So if there is a housing scheme, that should be a plus. It should not be a basis of discussion. But what we are now saying is, there are certain things that we need to establish in this country, a proper method of dealing with the issues. The way we look at it, and we have a constitution in this country. Under Article 10 of the Constitution, there are certain values of national governance and national values which we really need to observe, among which inclusivity, transparency, and so on and so on. You know that section. So if in the consideration of people of Murang'a, like the MP, are saying that there are certain questions which are not answered, if it is in the consideration of the former Prime Minister that there are certain questions which are not answered, instead of making so much noise, we have an arbitration center, which is our judiciary. If you think there were shortcuts which were taken, my view and my suggestion is we take this matter for arbitration through our judiciary to see whether certain rules were followed or not. Then the thing can be canvassed and this conversation can be brought to an end. But now, how many of these people including our MP and even the former
willing to go to court?
Are willing to go to court
yes,
to prove their claims?
Is it politically costly?
So
no.
It's politically costly because if somebody loses the case, maybe it will dig in their political platform and destroy it. So some of them probably might not win the case because this noise can go on and maybe after the next general election it dies.
No, can I explain?
Yes.
First and foremost, this issue has been discussed and deliberated in several forums. Number one, water is a devolved function, meaning it is a matter that was taken up by the Murang'a County Assembly. And that issue was discussed in that assembly, experts were called, and the matter was even escalated outside the assembly. There was a meeting at a place called Keno, and as the water came, members of parliament came and other stakeholders came. There were people who were not satisfied, and they did exactly what you have suggested. The matter was escalated to the court. The matter, in fact, there was an injunction that was issued against these people from commencing the project. But these people, they were able to discharge that order. So the point is, it has been canvassed in the assembly, it has been canvassed in the court.
You're saying there's nothing secret about it?
Yes, there's nothing. But however, that does not mean that all our concerns have been addressed. No. The only issue, we want to distance ourselves from Raila Odinga, because Raila Odinga is wanting to politicize negotiations between us and the government. And the issue remains, allow me to finish my point.
Yes.
The issue remains, I concede. So long as Murang'a town does not have water, I will not be happy with the project. That's a fact. So long as Keno does not have water, so long as Gaturi ward in my Kehar constituency has no water, I will not be happy with that project.
You're saying you want to distance yourselves from Raila Odinga, who brought this forward, yet in a roundabout way you are still agreeing that he did raise legitimate concerns to the project. So are you not just working out of political expediency not to be seen to be siding with the leader of the opposition, yet while in fact still agreeing that he is raising credible points?
No, I can tell you why I am disagreeing with Raila Odinga. Number one, this is not the first time those issues are being raised. We have raised them in a very continuous manner. Notwithstanding, this is a project which Jubilee is implementing. Allow me to finish to answer a question. That's number one. Number two, the way Raila framed his statement, it was clearly he attacked it using politics. As you have correctly stated, one, he quoted some of things which are not factual. They were not factual. For instance, he talked about that Michuki had objected to this project. What Michuki had objected was what we call a dam. That dam was going to affect his people at a place called Ichiche in Kangima. In Keharo, a place called Gatara, people are going to be displaced. In Makomboki, in Keguma constituency, those are the issues that
Let me ask you a question.
Yes,
let me
as we wind up.
Yes. Suppose oil was discovered in Murang'a.
Yes.
Would you raise the same issues? I'm just giving you two questions, quick ones. Would you raise the same issues as the ones you are now raising? Remember that you all have issues. Raila has issues. He's raising environmental issues.
Concerns, yes.
You are raising some governance issues and economic issues, local issues. These issues, my view, and this is what I'm arguing, is that they need to be canvassed and answers given, without necessarily somebody fearing there is another one who will threaten another one or not. But if, for example, there was oil, what would you say with regard to both what Raila is saying and what you are saying?
Simple, I can tell you. Simple. Allow me, engineer, to finish, because the question has been directed to me.
Yes.
As a parliamentarian, I would take that issue before the National Assembly. It is the organ that is bestowed with the duty of adjudicating such matters, and that is exactly what I have done. I brought that issue before the National Assembly.
Make a difference.
I have documents here showing this is not the first time as a member of parliament we are raising this issue. So what Raila Odinga is doing, he raised that issue in a political forum, which is wrong. If he was a good person loving the people of Tana River, Garissa or Murang'a, he would have told these people in court, raise this issue in the National Assembly. He didn't, as we went to the correct forum. And that matter that is still, and we are still conversing. And to us, and want to reiterate, until each and every homestead has water in Murang'a, we shall insist that
environment is hot politics.
Okay, Angela, let's hear from you as we wind up.
The issues Prof is saying is about environmental relating towards hydrological, and I would say that extensive hydrological evaluation of the project has been undertaken. It has been established that the effect on Masiga Dam, which is just the first hydro upstream, is 2.3% of the flows to Masinga. It's insignificant. We've undertaken ecological studies, and because of that, there will be very little effects downstream in downstream of Tana River. The project, what Honorable Kangata is saying, we've consulted with him. We are doing programs, and he has appreciated his Gaturi ward is being, the program to serve those people is on.
Not yet. You had to start
yes, not yet, but the plans are on. Ivanga, the plans are on. Towards Kabiti, the pipeline commencement of works is about to start, and we've met with him, discussed the programs. So
for you, this is just politics.
So he's also doing politics.
So they're all politicking. Everybody's politicking on the show today. Yes. Interesting. Okay, gentlemen, we have to wind it up there. Prof, perhaps with you, what do you think the way out of this is? Because when it is such a dicey matter, where there are actual facts and then politics injected into it to make it perhaps sound a certain way for political expediency, or however the public will read it, we end up missing the issues, which is, in fact, there is need for water supply. So how do you get out of this and help the audience separate what is what, so that if a viable project is in fact underway, it gets on, or if it isn't, then it can be halted?
Well, the way to do it is to go back to our constitution on how to deal with the disputes. These disputes are not uncommon. They will always come up. You have seen similar things happening with regard to the SGR. And people have gone to court. Sometimes the government has stopped doing the job until the matter is sorted out. So if voices like the ones coming from our MP and Raila and others
are
genuine, and we are not sorting them out in the normal way we do through parliament or other committees, then they should end up in a court to be arbitrated over, and we respect that. But what we really need to also know is that water is hot politics across the country. I would like, if it is genuine that really these issues have not been dealt with, we need to look at the water situation in this country in a broader sense. It's not just Murang'a. And what the starting point, because we have an engineer here, is this. You see, we need a policy that can harness water. How much of the water that comes out of Kenya's rivers goes to west? And how much of that water can we harness? We must have a formula of harnessing, so that any water that goes to west, we cut the amount of water that goes to west in a broader sense, rather than looking at Murang'a. And for me to as I end there, I want to advise our MP. The people of Murang'a have no business telling Raila Odinga that don't interfere with Murang'a politics. You looked cheap as leaders. Because Murang'a is part of the republic. I mean, you looked cheap in the sense that each one of us has a right to get concerned about what is happening across the country. So look at the questions, but don't look at at any individual. So if I see something wrong going on in Murang'a, even if I don't come from there, I'll ask you questions. So don't start dividing our country. That is the politics you are playing, and it's negative politics for whoever did it. Let us also, if you hear something in Nyanza which is not going right, go there and talk, and Raila should never stop you.
And I think that's a decent note to wind up this discussion. Gentlemen, I thank you. We're back after the break for the business.
Why are you laughing?